Welcome back again. I'm Hyacinth, your host, and today we will continue our discussion on methodologies. The monitor, Krashen hypothesizes that language instruction results in the creation of a mental monitor through which the learner filters spoken and written output. The monitor aids learners in achieving accuracy, but may hinder the development of fluency. The ideal is a balance where the student has opportunities for unrestricted fluency and for using the monitor to edit and develop accuracy. The natural approach was created in the 1970s. The principle of the approach is the student can learn the target language on their own naturally instead of by preset lessons. Remember when you were young? You didn't have to know what hot meant to stay away from the stove. It worked on this principle. The students learn the target language and vocabulary quickly from their surroundings, and learn grammar rules by speaking and deducting them eventually. Speaking and vocabulary would be the main focus of their learning. Students are taught by listening to the teacher speak in the target language, English, and are not allowed to speak their native language in class. They learn from observing and listening. A teacher may hold up a pencil and say pencil, but the teacher would not hold up a pencil and say le crayon. Pencil. Students would have to figure out that the item the teacher is holding up is called a pencil. The teacher will not give them a crutch by telling them in the native language both words. The student then graduates to basic greetings and names. My name is, how are you, I am fine, etc. The students then move to reading and writing. This may take several months to years depending on the retention of the student. After students learn how to effectively communicate, even though sometimes not in grammatically correct sentences, they move to games, activities, and group work to enhance their learning abilities. Many teachers resent this method, as they believe only new teachers use it as a cop-out, because they don't know how to teach English correctly. Performance-based approach. The performance-based approach to education enables pupils to use their knowledge and apply skills in realistic situations. It differs from the traditional approach to education, in that as well as striving for mastery of knowledge and skills, it also measures these in the context of practical tasks. Performance-based education also focuses on the process students go through while engaged in a task as well as the end product, enabling them to solve problems and make decisions throughout the learning process. Performance-based instruction. The instructor carefully identifies what the student needs to be able to do as a result of a learning experience. Assessment. Activities are designed to allow the student the opportunity to demonstrate the target skills, knowledge, and attitudes that are a result of the learning experiences of the course. Phonics approach. A phonic approach to reading is an approach that teaches the relation of the letters, graphemes, to the sounds, phonemes, they represent to teach reading. Problem-based learning. An alternative to conventional teaching approaches. Similar to discover-based and engaged learning, problem-based learning is highly student-centric. In problem-based learning, teachers present real or theoretical problems instead of one-sided lectures. Students are given a complex and interesting set of problems that they need to solve collaboratively as small teams. There is minimal content shared by the teacher, and students are left to their own devices to find a viable resolution for the problem. In the problem-based learning model, students are motivated to learn the subject matter because they are highly involved in finding a solution to engaging problems. Problem-based learning delivers many positive outcomes and benefits, including self-discovery, discipline, socialization, and communication skills, and logic. Problem-based learning is a perfect instructional approach in the teaching of the sciences, economics, and business. Production-based approach. Emphasis on data research and the results. Proficiency-based approach. Emphasis on demonstrating skills over homework and class participation. Project-based learning. Students engage in project-based learning, PBL, activities in groups to solve authentic, curriculum-based and interdisciplinary problems. A component of an inquiry-based approach to learning. The express learning style of the student must be taken into consideration. A classic project-based learning activity usually involves 4 basic elements: an extended time frame, collaboration, inquiry, investigation, and research, the construction of an artifact or performance of a consequential task. Psycholinguist-based approach. Inspired by Stephen Krashen's natural approach, an acquisition theory is applicable ideally to small groups and private tutoring in non-English speaking countries. It promotes language and culture exchange in communicative activities. As language is a result of human interaction, students become bilingual with small groups led by a native in the target culture. The instructor functions as a language counselor and facilitator. Rehearsal strategies. Used when verbatim recall of information is needed. Visual aids, such as flashcards, engage students during rehearsal, and cognitive strategies, such as underlining and note-taking, help students commit information to memory. Series method. The series method came before behaviorism in the mid-19th century and was thought to be of value and the first theory-based method model for teaching ELL students. It is said this method was developed out of Gwyn's own failure to learn German. The sight-word approach. The sight-word method is basic memorization. The goal is to recognize high-frequency words and say the word in less than a second. The student shouldn't have to analyze the word. In some cases, the word cannot be phonetically decoded. The best approach is overlearning. The silent way. Founded by Caleb Gategno in the early 1970s. It was created to help students with their pronunciation. Since what you hear and what you speak sound differently, students now could visualize how a sound should be orally transmitted. The silent way was created to help students learn pronunciation when it came to reading, writing, and speaking. This method was created to immediately correct pronunciation problems before they became a hindrance to learning. There are approximately 58 sounds in the English language according to the chart. Each color shows how each sound is written, many times various different ways, and the sound is orally presented to the students. The students now learn how to put together words and how to pronounce the sounds associated with it. To help students speak, the teacher presents each sound and the letters associated with the sound. The students then mimic the sound they heard from the teacher. A teacher also can point at an area on the chart and pronounce a sound and have the students follow. The students are then asked to write in the native language the sound that they hear. The teacher repeats it slowly and for several times until the students all have written down the sound they hear. The teacher then asks the students to pronounce the sounds. Many people will still use the phonemic alphabet to teach pronunciation, which is fine when it comes to reading and utilizing a dictionary. However, this is the best method if you want to teach pronunciation quickly and effectively. The phonemic alphabet can be used with this method with a great deal of success if taught simultaneously and the students are having a hard time with pronunciation. Remain silent, but active, in order to subordinate teaching to learning. Focus student attention. Provide meaningful practice with the use of color-coded cards and rods. Skills-based approach, phonics approach. It concerns mastering all the elements of language while learning to read. It assumes as learners learn how to read, they will learn how to write. Social and affective strategies. Learning can be enhanced when people interact with each other to clarify a confusing point, or when they participate in a group discussion or cooperative learning group to solve a problem. Strategy-based instruction offers explicit, systematic, procedural staff development to assist teachers in delivering instruction through gradual release and students learning through cognitive procedures that lead to metacognition. Suggestopedia. Strategy that learners listen to music while learning lengthy dialogues, playing games, and doing artwork. The 3PS approach. The 3PS approach helps students learn by having them practice and practice until they have mastered the language. Presentation. A teacher must present the lesson to the class. He or she then tries to make the lesson into a real-life situation. Students can now visualize what they are going to learn. The teacher doesn't stop with the lesson until the student completely understands the lesson. The teacher can show diagrams, phrases and dialogues on the whiteboard with examples and explanations in order for the students to understand the lesson plan. A handout is given to the students in order for them to practice what was taught. Example: the teacher wants to teach the class about shopping. They are taught terms associated with shopping and phrases associated with asking for help for products. Practice. Once the students understand the lesson plan, it's their turn to practice. This is where group and teamwork come in play. The students then pretend they are shopping in a store to buy a product and need help. One student can be the shopkeeper, while the other student can be the patron. They can practice the dialogue that was shown and some of the vocabulary needed to help with the practice session. Production. Eventually, the teacher must test the students on their ability to know the language. The students must be able to speak to one and another without having to look in a book, their notes, or use index cards. Students should be capable of producing learned material by using their own imagination and thought processes. When the learning activity is centered on the teacher, such as in a PPP, presentation practice production, lesson, it is a teacher-centered approach. This approach is usually associated with the traditional approaches to language learning. Tapestry. Developed by Vygotsky, which states that learning occurs while students interact with a more capable person. Well, that is all the time I have for today. I hope to see you next time.